Patrice Lumumba was born amongst the Batetela people in Kasai. He was exposed to Western education, but did not pursue his education to the university level. He joined the working force, joined the postal services during the colonial period, and in 1955, Patrice Lumumba joined the trade union movement. It is during his exposure to the trade union movement that he caught the bug of the fight against decolonization. He himself says that he had heard of freedom fighters in other parts of Africa. He had heard of Ghana's Kwame Nkrumah. He had heard of Nnamdi Azikiwe of Nigeria, and had heard of Julius Kambarage Nyerere, and of course Amilcar Cabral of Guinea-Bissau and Modibo Keita of Mali. And this is what energized him. And one of the things that Patrice Lumumba says annoyed him the most was the manner in which King Leopold of the Belgians had controlled and impoverished Congo. It is not told as often as should be, but he reminded many people on many occasions that Leopold of the Belgians had killed no less than 15 million Congolese, a massacre of gigantic proportions, and was one of the individuals that were invited by Kwame Nkrumah in Accra, Ghana in 1958. When he went to Accra, he had the opportunity of meeting other African freedom fighters who had been involved in the struggle for decolonization. And he came back charged and founded an organization, the Congo National Movement. At that time, the king in Belgium was King Baudouin. And when he came to Congo in what was then called Leopoldville, now Kinshasa, the arrangement was that Lumumba would not speak. The arrangement that was Kasavubu would speak. And indeed, when you listen to Kasavubu's speech, he praises the Belgians. He tells the Belgians how good they were to the Congolese. And taking the cue, King Baudouin also reminds the Congolese that they have inherited a good thing from the Belgians and that they have a duty to retain it. Patrice Lumumba, who had written a speech, stands up. Everybody is surprised, and he begins to speak. And he reminds his audience that that day marks an occasion which must remain in the minds of the Congolese. That the Congolese must remember that they have been humiliated, that they have been impoverished by the Belgians, and that the joy of the occasion was that from that day henceforth, the Congolese would write their own history. The Congolese would be masters of their own resources. The Congolese would be a people that would be respected by the world. He speaks, and you can see, if you look at the footage, King Baudouin looking at Kasavubu and wondering, what is this man saying? Those who know say that it is on that day that it was decided that Lumumba must die. Lumumba, sensing the difficulties and aware that the United Nations was present in that space, appeals because there is a mutiny in the army. And he appeals to the then Secretary of the United Nations, Dag Hammarskjöld, to support his army so that this mutiny can be brought down and the Belgians would not eliminate him. And the United Nations abandons Lumumba. It is at that time that Lumumba turns to the Soviet Union. And the Americans then say, this is a communist, and he's going to make Congo a communist country, and the decision is made. And from that day on, there is a code name for Lumumba. The code name for Lumumba is Satan. And the decision is that he must be eliminated. Unfortunately, Lumumba is arrested by the forces of Mobutu, and once they have arrested him, and this footage is one of the most painful footages you ever see, of Lumumba's hands being tied at the back and is handed over to Moses Shombe in Katanga. And when they hand him over, the story is now told. Ludovic says he is taken to the forest, he is shot, and his body is dissolved in acid. The man who shot him has recently come out and said, he's now an old man, that I shot Lumumba and the only thing that I retained was his tooth, which was returned to Congo in the year 2024. I'm aware that I'm going to die, but I die in the knowledge that the history of Congo will be written by the Congolese. And of course, he's executed, and there are riots across the world because Lumumba had already distinguished himself as a Pan-Africanist.